Continuing our study of the topology of the real number line, we want to look at separated sets, disconnected sets, and connected sets. So let's look at a few definitions. So non-empty sets of real numbers A and B are said to be separated if A closure intersect B is empty and A intersect B closure is empty. So not only are they disjoint, but none of the limit points in A are in B. Just recall that the closure of A is A along with all of its limit points. And none of the limit points of B are in A. So that's what these two equations give us. Okay, now next we want to say E, which is a non-empty set of real numbers, is disconnected if E equals A union B, where A and B are separated. And this can be thought of as like the separation of E into these two disconnected components, if you will. The next, a set that is not disconnected, is called connected. Okay, great. So first I want to look at some examples. So we'll look at some examples of separated sets and then sets that are not separated. So maybe let's first look at separated sets. So we could look at maybe the singleton 1 and maybe the interval 2 to 3. So those are separated from each other because if we take the closure of the interval 1, that's going to be the interval 1. If we take the closure of the interval 2, 3, that's half open, that's going to be the completely closed interval 2 to 3. But now notice there's no overlap between anything that would give us a separation like is described up here. Now let's look at some that are not separated. So maybe an obvious one would be, let's look at the open interval 1 to 3 and the open interval 2 to 5. So obviously those things themselves intersect, which tells you that, well, their closures also intersect. So now maybe a more interesting example would be the completely open interval 1 to 2 and then the half open interval 2 to 5. And now what we want to notice is that the number 2 is in the closure of the open interval 1 to 2 intersected with the half open interval 2 to 5. And that's because this closure of this open interval 1 to 2, remember that's going to be the open interval 1 to 2 along with its limit points, so that'll be the closed interval 1 to 2. But this example right here really gives us an idea for another example of two separated sets. And that would be maybe built off of this. We have the open interval 1 to 2 and then the open interval 2 to 5. So now notice that the closure of this intersects with the closure of this. So they almost are not disconnected, but we need the closure of A to intersect with B where it has not been closed. And then similarly, A must intersect with the closure of B. But we don't have that in any of those cases. But there's no overlap in either of those cases. So let's maybe write that down. So notice 1, 2 closure intersected with the open interval 2 to 5. So that is going to be the same thing as the closed interval 1 to 2 intersected with the open interval 2 to 5. And that's the empty set. And then we can similarly check the other way. So we have this open interval 1 to 2 intersected with the closure of the open interval 2 to 5. So notice that's going to be the open interval 1 to 2 intersected with the closed interval 2 to 5. But that is the empty set again. So either way you do this, we satisfy this rule up here. In other words, these two are separated sets. Okay, I'll clean this up and we'll look at some examples of connected and disconnected sets. So now that we've looked at some examples of separated and non-separated sets, I want to look at some examples of connected and disconnected sets in the real number line. But I want to warn you that on the real number line, the notion of connectedness is not super interesting. In fact, all connected sets are either all real numbers or they are some sort of interval, either a closed interval or an open interval or an infinite open interval, or so on and so forth. So there's some sort of interval or the whole real number line. And that's actually going to follow from a theorem that we'll prove at the end of this video. In order to see more interesting examples of connected sets and thus disconnected sets, you really have to look at R2 or R3 or maybe an arbitrary topological space. Like for example, let's say that we are in R2. Notice that this circle right here is most definitely a connected set. Now I haven't defined what a connected set is in R2, but we could argue that this circle is a connected set. But what's interesting here is that there is some sort of inside and outside of this circle, like it's partitioning R2 into parts. And then furthermore, like in R3, you could look at something like a torus, which is also interesting because it has this like hole in it. So that kind of stuff doesn't really show up in R1, but that being said, it's good to be introduced to the definitions right here. Okay, so now what about some disconnected sets? Well, notice that the natural numbers, that's clearly a disconnected set, because here we have this is equal to 1 union 2 union 3. And now here we could take our separation to be just 1 and then the rest of them, or 2 and then all of the rest of them, or essentially anything you want. And then you can similarly show that Z is a disconnected set. But actually, maybe more interestingly, I want to claim that Q is disconnected. And this might seem like it should be a bit hard to prove, but it's actually really, really quick. So we could do it just in this space right here. So let's go ahead and take an element X from R, but not in Q. So in other words, X is an irrational number. And then the next thing that I want to do is set capital A. So this is going to be a set. This will be equal to minus infinity comma X intersected with Q. Great. And then let's let B equal the set X to infinity intersected with Q. Great. And then next, what I want to notice is that A union B definitely equals all of the rational numbers. So that's pretty easy to see. And then next, what we want to notice is that A closure intersected with B is empty, and B closure intersected with A is also empty. So notice maybe we could think about what the limit points of A are, but a limit point of A will be essentially everything in this open interval right here. So in other words, A closure is going to be this open interval minus infinity up to X. It just essentially gets rid of all the rational number restriction there. And then similarly, B closure is going to be X up to infinity. But neither of those intersect with A or B because of how we've made this definition. So we've exhibited a disconnection of Q. Okay, great. So now that we've done some examples and hopefully built some intuition, I'll clean this up and we'll look at a nice result involving connected sets. To finish this video off, we're going to look at the following theorem, which gives us an equivalent formulation of the notion of connectedness for a subset of real numbers. And it goes like this. We've got E as a subset of the real numbers is connected if and only if, when we have A and B in E, with C is in the interval A to B. So implicitly built into that is that A is strictly less than B. Then C must be in E. So also notice that this open interval must be inside of E. Great. So let's go ahead and look at the proof here. So we will start with the forward direction. So what I want to do is suppose that E is connected with A and B are elements of E, and A is less than B. And suppose, by way of contradiction, that C is between A and B, and C is not an element of E. And so we want to get a contradiction to this, and what we are contradicting is this assumption that C is not an element of E. So now I'm going to build two sets, and those two sets will be A, which is equal to minus infinity up to C intersected with E, and I'm going to let B be C up to infinity intersected with E. Great. And now notice that A is a subset of this minus infinity to C, and then B is also a subset of this C to infinity. Great. But now what that tells us is that A bar is going to be a subset of minus infinity up to C including C, and B bar is going to be a subset of C up to infinity. But now we can check a few things. So the first thing we want to check is that A bar intersected with B. So that's going to be a subset of minus infinity up to C, including C, because of this A bar part, and then intersected with C up to infinity, but not including C. But now what we want to notice is that intersection is most definitely empty. That's easy to see. And then furthermore, we can do the same thing, A intersected with B bar, in other words, the closure of B. So that's going to be a subset of minus infinity up to C, not including C, intersected with C up to infinity, but including C. And again, that is going to be the empty set. So we've got these two things that intersect to the empty set, but because C is not an element from E, we see that E is equal to A union B. And so that only works because C is not an element from E. But what we just found is we found a disconnection of E. So we have a disconnection of E, but that's a contradiction. And what did it contradict? It contradicted this assumption up here that C was not an element of E. So we've ended up down here with C is an element from E, which is exactly what we wanted to do for this forward direction. Okay, so I'll go ahead and clean this up and we'll look at the reverse direction. Now we're ready for the reverse direction. So what we want to do is assume that we have this bottom condition. In other words, the condition is that if A and B are in E, then every C is in E that is between A and B. And I want to go ahead and point out that this is equivalent to saying that the closed interval A to B is a subset of E. So again, we've assumed that A and B start out in E, and then everything on that open interval being inside of E gives us the rest of the closed interval. Okay, good. Now what we want to do is assume that we've got some sort of thing that looks like a disconnection of E and show that it is actually not a disconnection. So let's say that we have E is equal to A union B with A intersected B is the empty set. And I should say that A and B are neither of them the empty set, but they intersect to the empty set. So we can always do this, and we can do this just by maybe pulling one point outside of E if you want, and it could be just E minus that single point union the singleton. And so that is not an interesting way to decompose E, and it doesn't give us a disconnection. Okay, so now the next thing that we want to do is pick an A naught from A and a B naught from B. And without loss of generality, we want to assume that A naught is less than B naught. So we can do that just by renaming the sets A and B if we need to. Now I want to set I naught equal to the interval A naught comma B naught. And notice by our assumption working in this reverse direction, we know that that is a subset of E. And again, that's because A naught is in A, which itself is a subset of E, and B naught is in B, which is also itself a subset of E, because that's how we're building E out of A and B. Okay, now the next thing that we want to do is bisect this closed interval into two parts. So I'll bisect it into a naught comma a naught plus b naught over 2 union a naught plus b naught over 2 comma b naught. So notice that's exactly the same set. It's just we've taken this closed interval and decomposed it into 2 equal parts. And now what I want to notice is that, again, because everything from this subinterval and this subinterval are in E, that means that they are either in A or B. So I can go ahead and say this thing is either in A or B, and then this endpoint is also in A or B. And now here's the little bit of a tricky part. We want to pick I1 to be equal to A1 comma B1, and that is one of these halves such that A1 is in A and B1 is in B. So let's talk our way through that. So notice that A naught plus B naught over 2, that's either in A or in B. So if it's in A, then notice this starts at A and ends at A, so we're not good to go there. But now if it's in B, then we can rename this one into B1 and A naught into A1, and we've got our new interval. And then we can do the same kind of thing over here. So if this guy right here is in A, then we're good to go. But if we're in B, then we're not good to go. But we already took care of that in the first kind of setup. So anyway, we've constructed this new interval. And now what I want to notice is that this interval has half the length of our original interval. Now, this should be like fairly familiar at this point because we do this all the time. We want to keep going and make an in, which is an comma bn. And notice that gives us this nested sequence of non-empty closed intervals. So we've got this I1 contains I2, contains I3, and so on and so forth. With the length of in is tending towards 0 because we're halving the original length each time. So if you half any number a bunch of times, that's essentially going to go to 0 at some point. So what that tells us, well, first of all, we know the nested interval theorem tells us that this intersection will be non-empty. So we know the intersection as n goes from 0, I guess, to infinity of I sub n will be not empty, but the fact that these intervals go down to a length of 0, we know that it has to be equal to a singleton. So now we'll call that singleton x. But now notice, since that goes down to a singleton, what we have is that a sub n is a sequence that is converging to that x, and b sub n is a sequence that's converging to that x. Furthermore, we know that x must be an element from E, which means it's in A or B. So if it's in A, well, let's go ahead and see that. If x is in A, well, we also know that it is a convergence of a sequence of elements from B, then it's also in B closure, but that tells us that x is in the intersection of A and B closure, which means that is not the empty set. And then furthermore, we could do the same kind of thing in the other case. So if x is in B, then that means x is also in A closure because we've got this sequence of elements from A converging to x, but that makes A closure intersect B not equal to the empty set. So in other words, we've satisfied this definition for E to be a connected set, and that's a good place to stop.